I've just pushed record.
Great.
Yep. I've pushed record now. Yep, and there's only a double bar. It's like a pause coming up.
It was all right?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
That's all right. Okay, so today I'm going to talk I'll give you an overview of early onset dementia. I'm not going to go into a lot of the definitions of all the other dementias because we haven't got, or at least the diseases, so because we haven't got time to do that. But I'll talk about the symptoms of younger onset dementia and issues specifically related to this population group, OT and physio roles and supports in the community. So I'm no expert in this field, but it is an area of interest. So see how we go. Okay, so the definition of dementia is that it's a brain disorder causing progressive change and degeneration in cognitive mental functions, such as memory, language, rational thinking, social skills, as well as behaviour, emotion and personality. The term younger onset dementia refers to when the symptoms begin when the person is under the age of 65. So the stats are that more than 353,000 Australians live with dementia, and this number is expected to rise to 400,000 in less than 5 years, and without a breakthrough and the treatment, it could be as high as nearly 1 million in 2050. The Australian Bureau of Statistics cites it as the second leading cause of death in Australia, and in the UK for women it has actually just been reported that it is the leading cause. It's the second cause for men after cardiovascular disease. And dementia has been diagnosed in people in their 30s as well as 40s and 50s. And because it's much less common than dementia, it can be difficult to diagnose. However, the latest figures show that younger onset dementia affects approximately 25,100 Australians. So the causes, many dementias are due to abnormal accumulation of proteins, such as tau in the brain. These proteins are needed for brain cells to function normally. The proteins are manufactured, used and then broken down by the processes within the brain cells. Malfunctions at any stage of this production line lead to the abnormal accumulations in and around the neurons of the brain, and the proteins clump together and interfere with the brain cell function and connections, eventually leading to the cell death. So this cell death is evident in the scans of atrophy. And in addition to causing the physical changes to the brain cells, the proteins affect the neurotransmitters. So younger onset dementia may be caused by Alzheimer's disease, frontotemporal lobe degeneration, stroke, Parkinson's, Lewy bodies, and other neurological conditions. And one significant issue with younger onset dementia is that the symptoms of the diseases may be really difficult to diagnose, and so this really delays appropriate treatment and care. So the common symptoms, so difficulty performing familiar tasks, difficulty remembering familiar faces or names and everyday objects, problems with language, the stuttering and mispronouncing words is some of the most common, disorientation, impaired judgment, difficulty with abstract thinking, misplacing things, and then not being able to remember them later. So that's the difference between us as normal functioning people that lose things, but people with dementia, they actually just can't remember where they put it, say, an hour or a day later. Changes in mood and behaviour and personality, and a loss of initiative. And then some of the particular ones for young onset dementia in terms of their functional day-to-day. So the recent memory loss that affects their job skills, difficulty remembering familiar routes when driving, feeling confused even when in a familiar environment. I have a story about a man who swam in the ocean for, say 60 years of his life, and he went on holiday with his son, and he walked down to the beach, and he just stood at the water, and he just didn't know what to do. Like, his son was really quite taken aback by this, because it was just such a familiar environment for him, and he put his feet in the water, but he didn't initiate anything else. So normally he would have just jumped in and gone for a swim. Problems with managing one's finances, and difficulty undertaking that routine that's quite usual, and it's hard to find conversations or programs on TV. They can't recall things that they've heard, seen or read. They'll lose the thread of what they're saying, so that can affect their functioning in work meetings. Feeling anxious, depressed or angry, and find that other people start to notice and comment on your memory loss, and using repetitive phrases. So there's lots and lots of things that can actually...
Quite hard for all those symptoms, because a lot of those you can't think, I've had moments of all of that.
Yeah.
So it's no wonder it's difficult to detect.
Absolutely, that's right. So, there's a nice table that I've got of like normal aging, in terms of, say, for example, that misplacing things will temporarily misplace something, but then those with dementia will put it in inappropriate places and then not recognise it. So when it's in a different place, even if they're looking at it. The abstract thinking, we might have difficulty balancing our checkbooks, as an example. But those with dementia will have trouble knowing what numbers are, so they're actually not recognising those sorts of things. Yes. And then, the changes in personality can be rapid mood swings, become confused or suspicious, but everyone can become sad and moody from time to time. Yeah, so it's all... Okay, so this is a nice table that actually gives you all the different types of dementias and what is more relevant or prevalent in each of them. So interesting enough, the memory storage is more prevalent in Alzheimer's and alcohol-related dementia and MS. But memory retrieval, they haven't put down as an issue in Alzheimer's and vascular dementia. Language is a challenge in most, and executive functioning and information processing. Oops. So that'll be in the... Alright, so the issues specifically related to people with younger age dementia. Younger people in dementia are more likely to be in paid work, caring and financially supporting children, have mortgage or other financial responsibilities, and be physically active. The programs for people with dementia are predominantly designed for the older person, less active people in mind, so they'll be probably less relevant for those that have got that are younger. The symptoms associated with dementia may be more difficult to accept and manage in a younger person, so there's massive, the sense of loss for a person can be enormous for them and the family. So the unplanned income loss with dementia can be a major problem. The loss of self-esteem and their purpose in life, their loss of roles, and also their future plans. So perhaps, travel or time with children or grandchildren may no longer be an option for them. Adjusting to the changes that come with the diagnosis of younger onset dementia can be really difficult. And then the partner who takes on the caring role may also have the responsibility of raising the children and managing the finances as well. So that will have a huge impact on the family relationships. The attitudes of other people, particularly their friends, can be a big issue for them, especially as the dementia progresses. And that's, often to do with lifestyle stages or their, stages in their life. If they're in their 40s, they've still got young children, other families are going on holidays or they're planning to do, other things, and they, this family, they can't either afford or they can't, take that time to do that, or it becomes too difficult. And the children can have a variety of obviously different reactions. So they're trying to cope with growing up, and then they have to also cope with a family member who is unwell and has changed completely in terms of their functioning and personality as well. So all those roles in the family can change because the children can take on that caring role as well. And often the children don't want to become a burden, so they don't often talk to their family members about it. So this is when it's really useful to have either a really good GP who can refer them to some counselling or social worker in the community. So the OTs can have quite a significant role in helping the person remain at work if the diagnosis comes early enough and they're able to still function on a day-to-day basis relatively well. So the OT can help the person think about how they're going to talk to the employer or be an advocate with them about the diagnosis. So it's a pretty big step. So planning, particularly what they're going to say is important. Discussing the possibility of changing some of their work tasks with the employer to make things safer or easier. So a lot of task analysis has to take place in terms of the cognitive and the physical aspects of their job. So, for example, safety using machinery would be considered. And there's always a thing in the back of your mind is the duty of care to inform the employer or clients receiving a service about the person's dementia. So also trying to identify people in their workplace that need to know about the diagnosis. Not everybody potentially would. And also just having a couple of trusted people in the workplace can be a really good sort of, key worker role or a support role. And also making sure the person's familiar with the anti-discrimination legislation, because dementia is a disability. So employers are legally obligated to make reasonable adjustments to allow a person with a disability to do their work. So it is considered indirect discrimination to refuse to make reasonable adjustments to enable a person with a disability to comply with workplace requirements. So that's when just talking to the employer about possible changes of their activities and tasks at work is really important. So know that they help the person or just make the person aware that they know their employment conditions, especially sick leave and disability entitlements. And there's always the National Dementia Helpline that is always available with information for anybody. So then the OT can help with compensatory and organisational memory strategies to engage and carry out work tasks effectively. They can develop a routine structure for each workday, so set times to return phone calls, specific projects, set time for administrative tasks, and then this will help prevent activities from interfering with each other. Factor in break times at regular intervals to prevent fatigue, and to say, if a task is too difficult or attention is, their attention is declining, don't sort of push it because it will only make the situation worse. Using the diary or calendar to keep track of appointments. During the meetings and work conversations, take notes to maintain focus, or record things so they can actually go back and listen to the meeting or conversation. Developing flowcharts for problem solving, and setting achievable goals as well. Okay, so the health and lifestyle factors. We all know that fatigue, stress or physical illness can affect everyone's ability to think and act as usual. So those with younger onset dementia may be particularly susceptible to such factors because their thinking abilities are already likely to be affected by their dementia. These factors are more easily managed with lifestyle adjustments. So fatigue management strategies, we all know all of those, but as our role, I think we have a role to educate people about them or reinforce them with people. So the routine, adequate sleep and sleep hygiene education is important, and just doing things that are important at the best time of their day, which could be in the morning. Managing stress, so we've got a role in teaching, meditation or relaxation techniques. Keeping the brain active is really important, even for those with the diagnosis, and particularly for those before, for any of us. Keeping socially engaged. There has been a link between people that are isolated and dementia, and I think some of this is to do with reducing the level of depression, which can itself result in decreased cognitive functioning. So there is a link between that there. Maintaining the appropriate nutrition and hydration, managing their pain, because if people are in pain, their cognitive functioning can be affected. Monitoring alcohol intake, the diet, just having regular checkups, with diabetes, your cholesterol and your high blood pressure, and not treating them effectively can damage the blood vessels in the brain and obviously affect the brain function and thinking skills. Okay, exercise. So aerobic exercise has been associated with an increase in the size of the hippocampus, which is the part of the brain that's central to memory. It also, obviously, we know it helps people's alertness, concentration and memory, and reduces stress and anxiety, and can improve mood. Again, I mentioned before about people with young onset dementia are often quite fit and physically able than those that are over 65. So encouraging them to continue that physical activity is really important. And just even if, they can still participate in sporting clubs and or be in teams, and it's just about helping them to talk to, maybe a few key people in that club or who they play with, just to give them an idea of things to watch out for and just to help them, keep them motivated to continue playing in sport or be members of a gym or something like that. So, so again, it's the exercise can prevent depression or other health problems. Yeah, it was interesting that new research shows that participating in physical exercise within 4 hours after you learn new material, so a new skill, may help you recall the information at a higher rate. So maybe here we could develop a program which involves an information session, and then immediately after you have the exercise. So instead of doing it around the, having the exercise first, you could have the information one first and then the exercise. Another issue that really needs to be explored with a person and discussed, and as an OT I have done this before, there are advanced care directive nurses that are in community services that do a lot of this advanced sort of planning ahead and providing advice on future finances, and so it's important because they need to do it while they still have capacity. So there's the practical things like joint signatures on financial accounts, discussing future financial affairs with financial advisors, arranging how the person with dementia will access their finances, considering the enduring power of attorney and guardian, and then again we can refer to social workers or advanced care directives to help with this. So Alzheimer's Australia is an amazing resource and support organisation. They have a multitude of paper-based resources and books, and also support groups right around the country. There's lots of online support groups which a lot of younger people would be quite happy to participate in. They also run the Key Worker program, which is it's a support service that provides them with just one key person that helps them, guide them through the system and make sure that they are getting the right assistance, and and provides a lot of support for families and carers as well. And then with the NDIS and their recognition of the importance of community participation and social engagement for people, there is hope from the association that will be a greater focus that will be placed on responses that enable individuals to participate in the local communities, that will enhance their daily life. So it'll be to be seen whether or not that's going to be a good, an outcome for these people, because they will be eligible to apply for NDIS. Okay, so just in summary, look after your brain with physical exercise, brain exercises, maintaining friendships and social activities. Look after your mental health, regularly learn a new skill and exercise afterwards, and consider future planning. Write that will, no matter what age you are. Before you lose the marble. So that's all. So there's a few considerations, in terms of with the Parkinson's group here and the and MS, and anybody else that you might come across that might show some signs.
Have you got the reference for that article about exercise sequence?
I'm going to find. I didn't write it down, but I'll. Yeah.
And could you elaborate further on the pathology and the build-up of tau? Is there a familial link, or what's the?
There's no. Yeah, they do say that there is a.
Yeah, the tau's a protein.
A protein that should be there, or it should be,
It's
but not built up in clumps.
Because it's the same with Parkinson's, the Lewy body is a tau and now Alzheimer's nuclein protein or something. But the difference in Alzheimer's is just tau without the unnecessary moving nuclein. But I don't really understand the
So you
pathology.
can see it on the scan.
Yeah, you can see the atrophy caused by that protein.
Just stay stuck in this area.
So yeah, so you can. It's
And then it blocks.
yeah. So it causes clumps or tangles, we call them. Yeah. So I think it's a natural protein that is there, but it's just over. Yeah.
Because they were talking about the vaccine, basically saying if you go along a row of houses, the houses will get the garbage taken out, but in the houses where the garbage doesn't get taken out, you end up not being able to get in and out of the driveway, and then that might affect other houses across the road. So what the vaccine's doing, although it hasn't come out yet, is hoping to come along with the garbage truck.
Right.
So I was listening going, okay.
So then,
So there is a natural garbage truck in our brains, endogenous, and for
To get
whatever
rid of-
reason when it's standing out in Alzheimer's, it's impaired, inhibited, or diminished, and it's not cleaning out the garbage, which is what the vaccine
Right.
will do. But it hasn't come out yet on the market. I think they're in phase 3 trials.
yeah. There's
For the Lewy body, different pathology though.
Yeah, so the vaccine they're bringing out, will that be for Lewy body as well as Alzheimer's, or is it?
I think it's largely dementia, so Lewy bodies would be under that umbrella. But this is definitely an area I'm not very clear on pathology.
Right, given that it can be, especially in the younger ones, like an invisible disease,
Yes.
people carry around like cards, you know, if they're like lost in the community, you know what I mean?
oh yeah, that's like a
Like
commissary stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. Yeah, no, that's a common thing that we do, just either in their wallet or they have it like around their neck.
And you get that from Alzheimer's Australia or...
Well, I've just made them. Or there's nothing like I haven't seen anything formal, like
There are different
in terms of-
places that make like little mini converters.
Yes. they could do that, but I haven't seen anything. I've just basically
But then could somebody that's then got like a scroll inside of it. But you could you
yeah.
I haven't seen many people with Alzheimer's, but could you, with Alzheimer's, can you alert someone to having that, or does it have to be visible, or do you have to know?
Oh yeah, no. You have to look for it. Like they wouldn't be able to tell you if they had dementia.
And with the
Alzheimer's. Sorry.
Yeah.
with the young onset, in your understanding, is there services available currently that support young onset from an allied health perspective?
No, not as far as I know. Not specifically.
Service development.
There's a multidisciplinary team for people with HIV and dementia-related HIV. I think it's at Prince of Wales.
There's this one,
Prince of
yeah.
Wales, yeah.
Yeah.
So they've got physio, they've got a couple of OT, social worker. So those young, because I've had a young HIV.
Right.
He was diagnosed with dementia about 38, and he had his own company.
Wow. Yeah.
So he was in board meetings,
Yes.
and so it was easy to pick up because he's stretched cognitively anyway. So even though, in everyday life, you may not be able to tell, but
But that's
But buffers
Very.
are only way to diagnose it because losing symptoms like this is quite, as you say, not so.
So there's there are blood tests and there's
depression a lot, isn't it?
definitely, yeah, that's right. So there's, and a lot of, like, in the stories that I read, and there's a book put out by Australia called My Story, I think it's called. Anyway, it's a whole lot of, like, stories from people with younger onset dementia, and a lot of them were diagnosed with depression first. So, and then it was like 2 or 3 years later that they, because in terms of them functioning. Oh yeah, that's right.
The cognitive function didn't change with the emotion
Yeah,
and that.
exactly.
And can that tau be picked up on MRI? The tau clumps?
Tau, it is.
Yeah, and CT.
Yeah.
So they can
But-
get a clinical diagnosis. They can get a
Some-
clinical diagnosis
sometimes
of
they
Alzheimer's
can.
or
Yeah.
which is vastly different to Parkinson's.
Well, I mean, I don't know how early you can pick that stuff up.
No,
Because
yeah.
one of the subjects who did unit 3 that scanning early won't pick it up. And I don't know whether things have been advanced since some of the cases already came out, but they were certainly talking similarly to Parkinson's. They kind of been definitively diagnosed on autopsy.
Yeah.
So unless things change.
And even theirs.
Yeah, it goes with both, but I think, well, she had evidence on a scan, but he did say, the psychiatrist said that coupled with your symptoms, I think it's Lewy body, but unless we chop your brain up, we can't be sure. But she was obviously pretty advanced before they could see anything on the scan, so maybe those subtle changes it is through. Oh, but you said a blood test, did you, Brian? There's a blood test.
Yeah, there is a blood test, but I can't remember what actually.
For
Can't remember what yeah. I can't remember what
And
it
how
was.
medication would work in this case? Medication.
there is one or two.
Yeah, they do, but the research doesn't give, like it's supposed to delay the progression. So, and it's like any medication. So, for example, with Parkinson's, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not consistent.
Yeah.
But there is yeah.
Yeah.
Over 350,000 children in Australia with dementia. What's the prevalence in this earlier to like under 65? What sort of numbers?
So there's about 25,000. Yeah.
I think that it increases with dementia. People.
Oh yeah.
Is it because we're more aware of the symptoms and or is it because of
I know. That's right. It's a good question because I've been thinking about it, and I think some of it is around those diagnostic tools, and there's no research like in this younger, early onset dementia about following that through. There was a study in Sweden done very recently, and it's a longitudinal study actually, and they followed people through from nearly up to 40 years from their conscription age in the army, and so they've looked at the cardiovascular and cognitive fitness of 18-year-olds, and then followed them through for up to 40 years, and they did find a link between low cognitive ability and poor cardiovascular actually did result in a higher level of dementia.
So there's a by the Alzheimer's in Australia, there is a site called Pico. Did you come across that?
No, not.
And I thought maybe it would be another challenge since everyone's got over an hour a day stroke to stroke. It's basically online brain exercises. And you can do it either as an event, like a trivia night kind of thing, or it can be you subscribe and get an exercise a day. Because in addition to using, like you can use it or lose it, it's also about novel challenges. So if you love Sudoku or if you love crossword, that's kind of not good enough because it has to be like learning an instrument or learning
Yes,
language or doing crossword, like mixing it up all the time and constantly acquiring different sciences. So maybe that's something for 2017 even the trivia night.
Yeah.
Let's go to trivia.
This is just from the Alzheimer's Association. Although current medications cannot cure Alzheimer's or stop it from progressing, so not disease modifying, they may help lessen symptoms such as memory loss and confusion for a limited time. There are two types of drugs. There's a cholinesterase inhibitor, otherwise in Australia known as Aricept, and there's memantine, which treats the cognitive symptoms of memory loss and confusion and problems with thinking and reasoning of Alzheimer's. The cholinesterase inhibitor prevents the breakdown of acetylcholine, a chemical messenger important for learning and memory, which supports communication among nerve cells by keeping acetylcholine levels high. Delays worsening of symptoms for 6 to 12 months on average for about half of the people who take them, so not everybody. Are generally well tolerated, however there are significant side effects such as nausea, etc. Second type of medication, memantine, is approved for moderate to severe Alzheimer's, regulates the activity of glutamate, a different messenger chemical involved in learning and memory. Delays worsening of symptoms for some people temporarily, significant side effects. So Aricept and Nemenda and Exelon are probably the ones we've come across in Australia.
I've certainly come across Aricept.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the last one I think.
Does small vessel disease fit under the dementia umbrella? Because it's a different.
I would have thought so.
It does, but it's just different pathology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the protein one is
And it presents
dementia.
quite
Yeah.
differently as well.
Sorry.
In that you can have episodes of being quite with it.
So the protein
But it's like Lewy, isn't it?
That's
Yeah,
Alzheimer's.
That's like Lewy body, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can have some
And then
people
your
quite
vascular.
alert, and then, but then the physical side's constantly.
Yeah. Thank you. That was
Oh, that's
really
all
good.
right. Food for thought.